What's the best lie you have ever told your child? Best lie I've ever told kids? Easy, and I still use it for noisy ones. Some kids in our old apartment complex were yelling and screaming, playing chase, whatever. I came downstairs and said, "So, you kids don't really care about using up your screams, do you?" "What?" they asked, curious. So I sat down and told them, well, in your lifetime you only get a few hundred screams. If you use them all up as a child, you'll never ever be able to scream again. Not even if a monster was chasing you. To their incredulous comments, I said I learned the hard way, listen, and opened my mouth and pantomimed a loud scream. Really threw my heart into it. Not a single sound came out. Their eyes went huge and they all looked rather scared. "It's okay, you can scream when you need to. But don't use them all up," I cautioned. Blissful. What did someone do on an airplane that made you say, "You've got to be kidding me"? This happened years ago, before I had kids. I was on a flight, sitting in the window seat, minding my own business as people boarded. A young woman with a child sat in the middle seat next to me. I figured the child had the aisle seat, but no, someone else had that seat. Back then the rules were that a child could be a free lap rider up until the age of 2 years, then were required to purchase a seat. This was either the biggest 2-year-old I have ever seen or the mother was pulling one over on the airline. Nowadays they require a birth certificate if there is any doubt about the age of the child. Everything was fine until the plane took off. At that point the child decided they needed to see out the window and walked onto my lap to see the view. Mother didn't even flinch. Just kept encouraging the child to see the view. She then slipped on headphones and buried her nose in a magazine. Over the next 2 hours the child stomped all over me, demanded my attention, and prevented me from eating or drinking anything. The flight attendants repeatedly asked the mother to keep her child on her lap, and she would for as long as it took for the flight attendant to walk away. The flight attendants kept mouthing sorry to me the whole flight. I decided to suck it up for the child and since it was a short flight to just deal with it. As I stood to disembark the plane, after the mother and child had already left, all of the flight attendants came and apologies. Shoved extra snacks into my hands and thanked me for not causing a huge scene, even though I was within my rights to do so. I ended up leaving with a big smile on my face. People like that mother are the reason the rest of us have to deal with so many rules and regulations. The most upsetting thing your parents told you. When my mom and dad were married, my dad forced himself onto her and well, outspawned me. She's hated me from day one. She constantly calls me a R-word baby. When I was 5 she told me karma would come for me. My parents divorced when I was 10. Every time I'd go to my dad's house after that he'd touch me. When I turned 14 he started to do what he did to her, to me. 15 he got extreme with it. I told my mom at 16. She didn't do anything. I told her I was scared to go over tomorrow. She told me I shouldn't be. That it was karma. And I started sobbing. And admittedly I was a jerk. I told her I hated her. I told her she was a terrible mother. She told me I deserved it. She said she hated me too. She's never loved me. She told me to end myself. I want to. I don't want to be my dad's little boy anymore. Rumor turned out to be true at your school. When I was a senior in high school, we had a new teacher join the faculty to teach health and home economics. She was probably about 26 years old and very attractive. Everyone was talking about the hot new teacher. As I was senior class president, I needed a new faculty advisor since my previous advisor of 3 years retired at the end of my junior year. About 2 weeks later the principal called me into his office and informed me that the new hot teacher was going to be our new class advisor for the rest of the year. As a result, she and I spent a lot of time together, at school and off campus, organizing and running myriad events to raise money for the class, plan the prom, field trips etc. Soon, the rumors started flying around that she and I were messing around. This was completely false. I can say she never acted inappropriately towards me or suggested anything to make me think she had plans for any type of physical or sexual activity. She was a fantastic advisor and always just that, a class advisor. I spent the rest of the year denying these rumors with friends, with teachers and with parents. I was even interrogated by my wrestling coach the day before the district championship match. She and I had a laugh about it at graduation as she had to face similar questions from other faculty as well as the principal. She confided in me that she had tendered her resignation but the principal would not accept it and said he believed her and would ensure the rumor was squashed. So I graduated and left for my plebe year at West Point forgetting about the entire situation. At West Point the first year is called plebe year rather than freshman year. The first semester of my plebe year was moving along as it should with no unusual events worth mentioning until the final month. Then, in early December, the topic of my high school faculty advisor resurfaced. One night when I was studying, there was a knock on my door and the company tactical officer, a regular Army captain, walked in and told me to report to his office immediately as there was a phone call for me from the Dover Police Department. Now, I immediately assumed it was my brother playing some kind of twisted joke on me since he was a captain in the very same police department waiting for me on the phone. Since my TAC was standing right behind me, I answered the phone as we were taught. Cadet Kerwick speaking. How may I help you sir/ma'am? I immediately recognized the voice on the other end. It was not my brother but a close friend I had grown up with and known for over 15 years. He said, "Hey Steve, Hope things are going well there, but I don't have time to chit-chat. I need to record this call and ask you some questions. Do you consent to being recorded, and will you allow me to swear you in so that this is official, and if anything you say is later proven to be false or misleading, you may be subject to criminal charges and a warrant issued for your arrest. His name was Bill, but we all called him Woody. I said, Woody, is this some kind of a joke? Who put you up to this? Because I'm about to shit my pants as I have no idea what this is about. My mind was racing so fast trying to guess, counter-guess, and trying to process that I could potentially be kicked out of West Point for something I had no clue about as of that moment. Woody replied, "It's no joke, and this is a very serious case we are investigating concerning inappropriate behavior between an adult and a minor or minors with regard to possible consensual or non-consensual sexual activities or sexual assault." That's when I knew exactly what this was about. I said, "Go ahead, Woody, I consent and will answer any questions you have." So I basically had to repeat his words almost like being sworn in as a witness who was going to testify in court. The questions all focused on that hot, young class advisor I worked with during my senior year. They kept me on the phone for an hour asking every possible question imaginable and then asking those same questions again in a different way. I answered every one honestly and candidly, but at the 1 hour mark I was becoming agitated as it seemed like they were on a witch hunt and were going to keep asking questions until they got an answer they liked. So I spoke up and said, "Gentlemen, you can continue to ask me these questions in any order or format that you desire, but I can assure you that my answers will not change because they are truthful and there was never one moment where X acted inappropriately in front of me. She was always completely professional and never even insinuated at something that would cross the line between teacher and student." Following that statement they had no further questions and told me they would contact me again if they needed to follow up or get additional details. My TAC could see I was visibly shaken, so we talked for another hour and I told him everything about the situation. He never had to ask me if I was being truthful because every cadet adheres to a strict honor code that becomes part of who we are. That code states that a cadet shall not lie, cheat or steal, nor tolerate those who do. He told me that I handled things professionally and can hold my head high if I ever return home for a visit. And that was that. I went back to my studies and prepared for my final exams and went home for a short Christmas break. That's when I found out that my teacher, my class advisor, had been found guilty of having a relationship with someone in the current senior class. That relationship was sexual and he was a minor. Seems the student ran around bragging to everyone that he was doing it with the hot teacher. I don't know if it was true or if he made it up. What was true was that she was fired from her job and never allowed to teach again. She had to register as a sex offender for the rest of her life. She lost everything: family, friends, money, possessions, and had to serve time as an inmate in a state correctional facility. If you ask me what I think, I don't believe it. I know the kid who was allegedly in a relationship with her. He was a complete jerk. Loud mouth, not smart, not smooth, not good looking, and most of all, he was a liar and a storyteller who would say anything if he thought it would make him look cool. I had wished I could have tracked him down and interrogated him my way. My guess is things might have ended differently, but I never got the chance to run into him and the cards he laid were played.
What's something you've experienced that most people never will? I got a girl pregnant about 9 years ago, and when I tried to see my daughter she fought me every step of the way. No one believed me when I would tell them what was happening. I recorded every phone call and interaction we had for years. About 4 years ago my daughter was taken from her mother by Department of Human Resources and placed with her grandparents because the mother told them I wasn't in the picture. When I went to DHR and they realized what was going on, they finally placed my daughter with me. After about a month the mother and the grandparents decided they were going to come get my daughter at all cost. The next morning they tore my front door off the hinges, hurt me in my home, and took my daughter out of her bed. After I called the police, a statewide manhunt involving city, county, and the FBI began for my daughter and the 4 family members that broke into my home. They had driven in 2 separate cars and took 2 separate routes away from my home. About 12 hours later all 4 had been arrested and extradited back to the city I live in. Fast forward about 2 years. All 4 of the group are now convicted felons. I now have full custody of my daughter and life is pretty awesome. Definitely a unique experience, I think.
I tell my girlfriend marry me and have my babies every single day and she doesn't know it. Whenever I say goodnight to her with a message, I end it with HMB. It has been months. I decided she was the one on September 29th, earlier this year. This is the girl I want to marry. Sometimes, she yells at me, "What does it mean?" She's not angry, she's highly amused but burning with an overwhelming desire to know what it means. She has made many guesses. At one point, she figured out the first part, but I am legendary at keeping secrets. I will never confirm or deny even under torture. Never. And now she doesn't think it means marry me anymore. She wants to be married to me and she wants to have babies with me. She just doesn't know I've asked her to marry me every single day since September 29th. I cannot wait to officially ask her and then finally tell her what it means. I hope this makes someone happy or smile as you start your new year. Sincerely, a man hopelessly in love. I will definitely update you in 6 months. I may record her reaction to me finally telling her what HMB means, but she's shy. No promises.
Boys, be honest.
What makes a girl instantly unattractive? Entitlement. Being rude or disrespectful without a reason. Constantly talking about an ex, even in a derogatory manner. Let it go. Bad hygiene. Using self-love as an excuse to be narcissistic and shitty. If she treats animals and waiters/service or retail staff badly. Bad smell. Toxic personality. Being a heavy social media poster/influencer, not interested frankly in becoming an unpaid photographer, nor am I interested in what you had for breakfast.
Parents, if a child tells you someone is off, believe them. It could save your life. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, my brother had a friend from school come over for dinner along with his mother and her boyfriend. I don't remember much about the boyfriend except that I didn't like him. He wanted to play airplane with me, you know, where the adult lays on their back with their feet in the air and the kid lays on their feet and acts like they're flying. He did it in front of everyone, and he never tried to get me alone, but I didn't like it. I told my parents I didn't like him, and if I recall correctly, I believe they didn't care for him either. Needless to say, he never came to our house again. Not long after that, my brother's friend's mom went missing, and was later found dead. Turns out he unalived her. I have never gotten over it, and the fact that even as a young child, something about this man rubbed me wrong. It still freaks me out to this day. Listen to your gut, there's a reason you get that feeling about a person.
The creepiest thing that happened on internet and is still available to see. The suicide of Martin Manley. He was a local, to Kansas City area, sports statistician. He decided that he hated that death was something he has no control over, so he planned his own suicide after he decided that he had lived a long enough life. He planned the whole thing out and had pre-mailed an explanation and all needed documents to his family so that they'd arrive the day it happened. He didn't want his kids finding out through the news. He also didn't want to traumatize anyone who isn't accustomed to seeing death/gore, so he did it in the police station parking lot off to the side and called his own suicide in seconds before pulling the trigger so that people who are used to this sort of thing would be responding. He also set up a website explaining why he did it and explaining the whole process. He researched what he needed to do to ensure as many organs as possible would be donated/harvested. It's really weird reading something from someone that knew they're going to be dead. It's different from reading something from someone who is terminally ill, though you'd think it's no different. He also thought it would be funny to mess with people, so he put GPS coordinates on a page on his website that mentions where he buried his $200,000 coin collection. A bunch of local people went to the local arboretum where the coordinates pointed to and police had to intervene. The guy planned everything out. Even what to do with his car. Prepaid his cremation. It's really bizarre reading through his website.